I love building Gunpla. It probably spawned from my love of Bionicle and LEGO. I never really got into the shows, but I always loved the mech designs. Conceptually, New Gundam Breaker is the perfect game for me, as it's less a game about Gundams and more a game about the actual plastic models I've loved all these years. I'm Mark and welcome to another GameCast review. Today I'll be reviewing New Gundam Breaker, now available for the PlayStation 4 and PC. New Gundam Breaker does have a story to tell. It's not all that special or in-depth, but it's there to give context to toys beating the crap out of each other, so why not? New Gundam Breaker tells the story of you, the new transfer student to a prestigious Gunpla building high school. Everything here is decided by Gunpla battles. From simple disagreements to student council seats, everything is decided by how you perform in battle. It's simple, it's silly, and it's just enough to frame each consecutive battle. The story to Gundam Breaker is told like a simplified visual novel. You'll make dialogue choices that don't really change any outcome, and go down different routes based on the different heroines in the game. Each story is very similar to one another, and it really only boils down to which character stereotype you like more. It only takes about an hour or so to clear each route, so it's relatively quick to finish the entire single-player campaign. Repeat play is encouraged to gather more parts and currency to buy even more parts. New Gundam Breaker at its core is a fun, clunky, hot mess of a game. For everything it does right, it falters in a different department. The game works like a fairly generic hack and slash. You have light and heavy attacks, ranged attacks, and can dash around in 3 dimensions. You have special moves that can be performed after building enough experience in battle, and can even swap out pieces in battle to gain new skills and stats. There are multiple rotating mission objectives per stage to deal with, and all of them are rather simple, such as kill so many of this, destroy so many containers, deliver so many parts, and slight variations like deliver this part from this specific enemy after you destroy it. While the idea of swapping out parts mid-battle sounds great on paper, in practice it's a bit of a mess, with enemy AI that swarms you at a moment's notice, and easily interrupted special attacks that leave you vulnerable for far too long. It's annoying as when I looked back at previous Gundam Breaker games and Gundam Versus from last year, they moved so quickly and had a great flow to the whole thing. Here it feels very stilted and clunky, with Gundams that feel very hard to maneuver. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have fun though. As messy as the whole thing is, I really enjoyed knocking pieces off of my favourite mechs and rebuilding my frame mid-battle. I liked swapping out weapons to find something that felt right. This all had to do with my favourite part of the game, which unfortunately doesn't seem to have a huge focus despite it being the main draw of previous Gundam Breaker titles: the actual frame building. Outside of battle, you can sit at your workstation, sifting through all the parts you've gathered so far and rebuild your Gunpla from the ground up. Each part comes with different skills and stats, so it becomes a bit of a balance between what looks cool and what's actually useful in combat. At the end of it, you might have something that looks like Frankenstein's monster if it was a small plastic robot, but fortunately you can completely repaint the Gunpla to give it some form of cohesion. Presentation-wise, New Gundam Breaker is a bit all over the place. Outside of battle, things are mostly good with some decently well-drawn characters and fun menu design. The UI can be a little awkward, but it's not too bad, and all your Gunpla look really cool during the assembly and paint stage. But when everything gets moving, there are a few issues. There's a lot of texture pop in, and this even happens in the main menu. Decisions and end of chapter transitions are choppy and awkward, like the game just froze for a few seconds. The frame rate also dips all the time. Rarely did I get a match where the game didn't slow down or completely stop for seconds at a time. This even happens in the in-game cutscenes, including the final boss fight where the frames could actually be counted as they go along. It's really annoying and breaks a lot of what could have been a fun, well-flowing game. Unfortunately, it gets in the way of itself constantly. The soundtrack is okay, but it's mainly just unobtrusive background music like going in an elevator. Like I said before, I still had fun, thanks in no small part to the property itself. I also find myself forgiving some of its more awkward shortcomings due to the fact that these aren't Gundams battling, but Gunpla. The actual plastic models of varying size, details, and price are beating the pieces out of each other. Bosses take the form of giant, expensive, perfect-grade Gundam kits, which is hilarious, and mixing parts from different model sizes yields similar results. It doesn't always work, and the single-player story, while nice to have, didn't have all that much effort put into it. I would have preferred a single linear story that tries to tell some kind of lighthearted narrative, rather than what we got, which was a weird visual novel dating sim that just so happened to take place in a Gunpla academy. It's hard to dislike the game, but I'm having trouble actually calling it good. It has a huge roster of Gunpla and parts, but it's missing my favourites. It has a fun concept of actual model kits battling it out, but it's a slow, clunky mess in practice. The game engine is pretty, but it's almost always tripping up on itself. It's such an awkward game, and because of that I'd say if you're still interested, it's probably best if you've waited for a sale. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and please let us know what you thought of new Gundam Breaker in the comments below. Until next time, bye!